Yeah.
Welcome to the number one Bengals podcast. I am
One.
Dr. I am Dadio Maktouk. I'm joined by Dr. Hodgie, the electric Smoji. And the
Yeah.
Cincinnati Bengals did not lose a game yesterday.
Yes. Our
We were
first
all
not
very proud of
loss in a
them.
while.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but let's be honest here, Hodgie. Let's be honest. We are
Please.
getting elite quarterback play from a man named Joe Burrow. He is putting up stats like MVPs. He's on
Yes.
pace for over 4,000 yards, like 25 touchdowns, only 5 interceptions. And by the way, his only interception, by the way, was a fluke against the Eagles yesterday. I was looking at PFF. He had no turnover-worthy throws. I mean, he does not even put the ball in position for the defense to get it, and
And I'm
yet,
surprised at that. You'd expect more turnovers. You'd expect more from a quarterback like him who's taking so many risks. You'd expect more. So don't be disappointed if, as things get better, there are more interceptions, which he
well,
takes more chances. But he hasn't had much. He hasn't had time to take those long shots, those chances, really either.
yeah, I mean, the long, deep shots are not happening. We got really close on a couple of them. We had one to T. Higgins
Yeah,
late, I think.
T
Yeah,
was
he was
looking
great.
coffee,
He was
caffeine.
great. Yeah, we had some passes to Auden Tate that were also almost a big plays. It was so nice to see Auden Tate back in there. But
Where I'm
yeah.
from, Tate the Great.
Yeah, but I mean, the deep throws have not happened, and he's still piling up the yards. He's still putting us in position to win.
Yeah.
And but our team, let's be honest. I mean, the defense had some breakdowns. They started to play well later in the game.
Yeah.
But early on, they were giving up a lot of big runs to Miles Sanders. But later, you got Dunlap going. You got Lawson going. Lawson was a sack machine yesterday.
Yeah.
Lawson was all over Jason.
Well, DJ Reader tipped the ball that got the interception too. DJ.
Right. Yeah, that was early on. I mean, look, they're playing Carson Wentz, who is a backup quarterback, who's only in the position to be a starter because of how he's paid. Yeah, no, really. He's clearly a backup at this point. Or at least he needs to sit for a few games. But
he's supposed to be Nick Foles' backup. That's what I'm going to talk. I was going to tell Darius when we have Darius on.
Yeah. But yeah.
Here's the thing, Dadio. You're talking a lot about my favorite player in the world, which is Joey Joe Burrow.
Right.
I love that man. And if you know anything about the way quarterbacks are treated nowadays, if you know the advances we've made in medicine and all that, you're having quarterbacks play into their 40s. That didn't used to be the case. That means that if you take good care of this young man, he could be an elite quarterback for the Cincinnati Bengals for 20 years. That means your children could watch him play. And think about how exciting that is.
Yeah,
right?
but I would say this. Look, we're going to...
But
yeah,
we're not going to see that if he's getting sacked over 44 times.
Okay,
we're not going to see that if you're getting smacked. We're not going to see that if he gets hurt. Hodgie angry, Dadio. Hodgie very angry. And you know why? Well, Hodgie is angry because the offensive line is offensively bad.
Well, yeah, let's talk about that.
And Zach Taylor doesn't care. And that's what bothers me. Zach Taylor acts like everything's okay. No, it's not, Zach. No, it's not. From one QB coach to another, it's not okay. You know that this is not working.
Yeah. Well, look. He said he's going to look at it, and he said we have no idea what we're doing at right guard. At least he's being honest. Like, they did not have a plan. Look, they got Xavier.
They had all summer.
They did.
But they did all kinds of acquisitions. They did all kinds of moves. They didn't do much for the offensive line.
I will say this: they did not listen to John Sheeran and the analytics, who said, "Don't pay a running back. Put that money in the offensive line. Don't." Yes. They said, "Why are we giving so much money to Trey Waynes, who's an average corner?" But I will say this: we are going to have Marissa Contepelli on the show probably later this week.
But do you know why? Yeah. Do you know why they made those moves on D and they didn't on the offensive line? My theory: because the head coach listens a lot. You don't know this. You've never been a coach. The head coach listens a lot to his assistants. Okay. Now, as a QB coach, he knew he wanted Burrow. He knew that. No one was going to convince him otherwise. But he listened to Anaromo, who said, "This is what I need. This is my grocery shopping list. I need my DJ Reader. I need my this. I need my Trey Waynes." And he got those things for them. My suspicion is that it's Jim Turner who said, "I can make it work with what I got here, coach." And
yeah, Jim can't. To be fair, Jim Turner has this ability to bully people into doing things they don't want to do. So he knows how to, kind of, remember Rocky's trainer,
Yeah.
Speaking of Philadelphia,
Why go to a movie? You remember that guy who always made you buy rugs? He bullied you.
Yeah,
you were always left and right buying rugs. And I was like, Dadio, you just bought a rug. You don't even like spending money. You're like, oh, well, he told me I needed it. And you remember that? You don't
he
like
used to
spending
show
money.
up to my house, and he had a very loud voice.
Yeah,
he would come to my house. He would eat my dinner in front of my family. So I really didn't have an option. But I moved. That was the option. That's why I'm in Los Angeles.
Yeah, you got a restraining order and you changed your address and your name. And yeah, I mean, that's one way to deal with bullying.
Yeah, I was Dadio McDuck, and now it's Dadio McDuke. Nobody even noticed. But, I will say this. I agree. Jim Turner's to blame. I agree that, look, the scouting department's to blame. We need another scout. We have two. Supposedly we have two. It's probably just...
they have one bicycle with two seats, that big wheel and the small wheel. They got
But yeah, we have spent draft picks on offensive linemen, not this past year, but previous years, and they have not panned out. No. The one thing we have not done is to spend big money on other people's offense. We got Cordy Glenn. We traded for him, and he had a decently sized contract.
Yeah.
But he was hurt, and he was damaged goods, and all that stuff. That was a mistake. But we have not spent. Look, with Zeitler, Whitworth, everybody was saying at the time it was a big mistake, and those set us back years. Let's be honest.
Let's be honest there. Let's be honest there. Okay, if you watch the Sunday night game with the Broncos, you saw our old friend Jeff Driscoll. Now, Jeff Driscoll was a third string, if I'm not mistaken, quarterback on the Cincinnati Bengals, and now he's starting for the Broncos. Why is it that Jeff Driscoll on the Broncos looks a lot better, than a lot of the stuff you're seeing on other teams? It's because the offensive line under Munchak or whatever is working. A good offensive line is the trick to this game, Dadio.
No, I mean, look, that is what people are saying now. Yeah. That is the popular thing. Look, you look at the best teams, and they have the best offensive line. Look, you look at the Browns, man. You look at the Browns.
Exactly. Browns a great example.
Look at the running game. They're like, oh, they have two of the top rushers. I mean, maybe. But the thing is, those rushers have great blocking in front of them. Joe Mixon, the poor guy, does not look like a very good running back because there's no point in running the ball for the Bengals.
There's no holes. There's no holes. So the only runs that work are the ones that aren't conventional. And, that's what I mean.
When they make something happen, like Joe Mixon has to dodge a couple of people in the backfield, and then maybe he can get some yardage. But, Hodgie.
I want you to imagine. That when I saw Joe do that move, where he did 1-2 in the slippery slope, and then he went around, and then eventually the referees ruled it inadmissible because I guess T. Higgins had gone out and gone back in. But forget that, the dynamics of what you saw with Joe Burrow. No one else in the league. Is playing like that.
He had one that did count that was similar. But Hodgie, you and I can sit here and complain.
Him with a good offensive line, Dadio. Him with a good offensive line. That is like Hodgie in a jacuzzi. That's how.
I just looked at the plays again, and the few plays where he had some time, where he had just enough time to really scan the field. He always goes to the right option. It's amazing. He always knows where to go with the ball. I can't remember watching.
The kid was born for football. This is your Joe Montana. Yeah. This is your Aaron Rodgers. This is your Patrick Mahomes. This is your once in a lifetime QB, and the Bengals are going to kill the kid. They're going to have him smashed. They're going to have his spirit broken. You think he's going to be this up? You think he's going to have this optimistic attitude? If he keeps getting smashed, he's human. He's not a god. At least not that I know of.
Look, I would say this. Yeah, we have so much to talk about with the Eagles game, but we're speaking from the Bengals perspective. But both teams kind of blew this game. They had opportunities. And both teams did not want to win this game. I mean, by the way they played, and our best player was our quarterback. Their worst player was their quarterback. But to get a better idea, I want to bring in the top source, the top authority on the Philadelphia Eagles in the entire world. I actually did the research on this, and a huge YouTube following, He has the #1 Eagles podcast on the Bleav podcast. It's not called that, but it's the equivalent of the #1 Bengals podcast. He's also on Bleav. Bleav has all the biggest stars, and his name is Darius Daulton. I'm going to bring him in, but make sure that you subscribe to his show on YouTube and on iTunes. This guy is so passionate he's raw and just honest with his analysis.
He's like
definitely
like a carrot or celery. Yeah.
Here we go. Here is my man,
Wow.
Darius Daulton.
I'm flattered by that introduction, gentlemen. I really do appreciate you guys having me back on, or having me on your show. Last Friday was on our show. So here we are to conclude this great game that we saw yesterday. Ended in a tie. But before I get started, you guys might not like my sweater right now. However, it doesn't represent the Browns, but I am wearing a Cleveland sweater. It's no disrespect to the Bengals. I'm not representing the Browns. This was totally a Cavalier sweater that I just rocked. So I do apologize if you guys feel offended that I'm wearing a Cleveland sweater.
Honestly, Darius, your charm undoes any sense of offense that we could have had. I was offended, but then you've totally won me over. You have this amazing hypnotic charm, really, and you've won me over.
Dadio was actually telling me about your vegan convention that you actually have, had yesterday, and so would that be like? I would love to try that out one of these days, and trying to go ahead and convert my life to veganism. So let me go check out one of these conventions.
You really ought to, and you don't even have to go to a convention. You come to my house, I take care of you. Hodgie, I'll make you my special foods. You'll love the vegan lifestyle. I've not been able to convert Dadio yet, but I'm working on it.
There is. So look, I'm looking. I went back and watched the game, the highlights. Yeah. And I saw the Eagles had some disastrous mistakes. Yeah. They had the chance to win the game in overtime, but they had the holding call. And before that, there was there's the offsides. They had the false start. Yeah. And before that, the drive before, they had a big gain, and they had the holding. What was it? The pass interference. They had another, penalty, right?
Yeah.
And meanwhile, the Bengals. Oh man, I didn't want to get into all the mistakes that the Bengals made to kind of throw away the game.
A lot.
And really, it's like I personally don't feel a lot of joy from the result of the game. I feel more joy in the fact that Joe Burrow is doing Joe Burrow things. But how do you feel as an Eagles fan watching that game?
Yeah. What's your reaction? What's your hot take?
We do.
Well, it sounds like there's a bit of a lag or something like that. I'm not getting a lot of data.
Well, I recommended my internet connection to him, which I have to use coupons. You have to. Oh, here we go. Okay.
We lost you for a second, Darius. Go ahead. Your reaction.
Sorry about that. So, even though we had the same results, definitely different reactions. I can understand why you guys would feel a little bit more hope. Honestly, if I were you guys, I'd feel a lot more encouraged about Joe Burrow's performance, about him being able to step up for another week on the road against the Eagles, despite not having a rushing attack. Less than 50 yards for the Bengals, getting sacked 8 times. We were talking about how the offensive line is in shambles, and we kind of figured that the defensive line that we have with all that money would take advantage. Joe Burrow gets sacked 8 times. He took a huge shot from Malik Jackson. We tried to rattle him up. Even Fletcher Cox shoved him out of bounds. Joe Burrow, he was getting rattled up all throughout the game, but he still stepped up. He prevailed. I told you, you guys say that you guys are a nice team and like giving away wins to other opponents. Well, we just like giving you the ball. I'm actually upset that you guys couldn't finish off in overtime when Carson Wentz almost gave you the ball for a third time, dropped an interception, and definitely had your chance to win that game there. We're in shambles. We're a bad team, no doubt about it. I'm not sure with this transition that we're having right now in Philadelphia. This season itself has been a disaster. Me as an Eagles fan, seeing this when you have a Super Bowl winning head coach, when you have a $100 million quarterback, when you have a so-called top front office, you usually expect your team to compete, and we cannot even compete. But I mean, we did take a step forward this week, and what I mean that we took a step forward this week, I mean that by we did not lose. Okay,
right.
We didn't win, but we did not lose. So I guess if that's a step forward towards the right direction, I'll take it.
Right. So Darius, follow-up question, if you don't mind. Number one problem for the Philadelphia Eagles, what is it?
Okay. He's not the only problem, but Carson Wentz is the main problem for us. He's not the only problem. There's still a lot that goes on. We're committing these bad contracts to these older players and whatnot. But as far as the main problem goes, I look at the quarterback who has 7 turnovers in 3 games. right now, Carson Wentz, he's a turnover machine. I look back at some of these play calling, see if, Doug Peterson is not creating any plays. Look, Doug Peterson, since the Washington game, we've adjusted. We didn't run the ball. We couldn't protect Carson Wentz the first game against Washington. Well, guess what? We ran over 100 yards last week, ran over 100 yards this week. We protected Carson Wentz last week. We protected Carson Wentz this week. Several of the sacks were coverage sacks where no one couldn't get open, and Carson Wentz held onto the ball for too long. What else is new? Because that's is something that he does as well. Right. I'm looking to see, our coach is making adjustments. He's leaving guys, guys are getting wide open. Carson Wentz he has tunnel vision. He's not reading the defense. Mr. Miles Sanders touchdown. Miles Sanders burned one of your linebackers, and Carson Wentz decides to overthrow him. Right now, I believe the main problem, but he's not the only problem, but he is the main problem, and that is the guy that we're paying $100 million for. And right now, I'm jealous. I'm jealous that I'm seeing a quarterback where we're giving the excuse of, guys are injured, we have old roster and all that kind of stuff. Nonetheless, though, no offense to you guys, but I look at my roster still compared to the Bengals, and I'm like, well, I'd prefer to still have the Eagles roster than the Bengals because I saw no offensive line, no tight end, no running game. Defense gave up over 175 yards in back-to-back weeks rushing. So, defense is very suspect as well. But here I am seeing Joe Burrow doing the best he possibly can.
We love him.
Yeah, we love the guy.
You guys deserve to love him.
Darius, we actually have a caller who wants to talk to you. He's very upset with his team. He's an Eagles fan. Yeah, he's a very passionate Eagles fan.
Absolutely.
And and he wants to talk to you, and he wants to talk about Wentz and the direction of the team. So I'm going to add him right now. Yeah, AJ Clarkson, I believe.
Yes, I'm here. How are you guys?
Yeah, we're good. So you had a question for Darius Daulton, the foremost expert of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Well, I'm listening here, and I'm frustrated. I agree. I mean, something just doesn't right with Carson Wentz here. He's trying to do too much. He's in a slump. But now, Darius, Dadio and Hodgie said before you called out that Wentz was a backup quarterback. I resent those comments. He's not a backup quarterback. He is an MVP caliber quarterback, but he's in a slump right now. Right? He came into this game with the most interceptions in the league, tied with Kirk Cousins. The first drive, he gets picked off, fumbles before the half. He has another interception in the third quarter. As you said, he overthrew Miles Sanders. I mean, I'm very, very frustrated. I mean, but as you said, with Joe Burrow, our coach Doug Peterson said before the game he was impressed with Burrow for three main reasons. Number one, his ability to extend plays. Number two, his ability to take hits. And number three, that nothing phases him. And he was able to make some good throws, escape in the pocket, led them to a touchdown drive, take the lead. And then on the first shot in the second half, led him to another touchdown. He had 13 consecutive completions at one point. It was very poised, didn't get rattled, thread the needle, some of those throws. You guys have a great quarterback on you, but I'm very frustrated with Carson Wentz. What can we do? What has to happen for him
I hear it in your voice, man. I hear the frustration.
Yeah.
It's almost like I hear AJ Clarkson singing, "I want you back, oh baby," to Nick Foles. Is that?
I mean, talk about the game.
I want the MVP Wentz back. What has to happen?
I think he needs someone to light a fire under it. And Nick Foles, man, that guy got him going in 2017.
Darius, your response. Sorry.
We've seen Carson Wentz at full potential from last year. We've seen flashes here and there, and especially, obviously, 2017. So, I mean, for me to just quickly give up on Carson Wentz, and I've been one of Carson Wentz's biggest critics since 2017. But, I mean, I'm not over here, as much as I like the idea of let me see what Jalen Hurts could do. I'm not ready to make that. I'm not ready to pull that plug yet. I'm still waiting to see Carson Wentz step up. I think what needs to happen for Carson Wentz, and I'm serious when I'm saying this, I think that we need to potentially have an Andy Reid McNabb situation in 2008. The same season we tied with the Bengals. Remember that the same season we tied with the Bengals, where Donovan McNabb, he was not playing up to par. The Eagles were a losing team. We were playing against the Ravens. We were getting our ass beat. And I'm gonna say this: if this upcoming game against the Niners, hypothetically speaking, this is a scenario that I'm just formulating in my head what needs to happen. If we look mediocre going into halftime, again, Niners is a tough opponent. This is going to be a tough opponent. So they're still playing great despite all their injuries. They're still playing great. They're going to get some of their guys back this week. If we go into halftime struggling, and let's just say, we're down, the score is 13-3, offense is still sluggish. You do what Reed did to McNabb. You do what Reed did to McNabb in 2008. You bench Carson Wentz for the rest of the game. Have Jalen Hurts go out there, get beat up if he needs to, or if Jalen Hurts steps up, even better. Nonetheless, though, you have Jalen Hurts play the rest of the game. You send that message to Carson Wentz right now. And the result that we got from McNabb after he got benched at halftime from Ravens, we went all the way to the NFC Championship game. So that will truly test. We saw how McNabb responded after getting benched for Kevin Cobb. Well, this will truly test Carson Wentz's mental. Hey, look, we're not going to accept you continuing to turn the ball over. We're not going to accept you to continue to be one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL at this point in time. You are the worst quarterback in the NFL right now. This is unacceptable. We're going to hold you accountable. Yes, we're paying you all this money, but we will not hesitate. We did draft a quarterback in the second round. We will not hesitate to go to him if you continue to play like this in particular. All right. So you'd make that move. If this happens, if obviously I'm going to come into the game hoping that, Wentz is going to at least obviously, play up to par from the first quarter. But at any point in time where, whether it's this upcoming week, whether it's next week against the Steelers or the Ravens, one of these tough opponents coming up and Carson Wentz is still looking rather shaky, I think you do what Reed did to McNabb in 2008. You bench him for the rest of the game, have Hurts do whatever he can, and then reevaluate Carson Wentz during the week. You could create a controversy real quick saying, well, we're going to reevaluate the starting position this upcoming week, who's going to be the starter, then name Carson Wentz back to starter. And if he comes in motivated, if he comes in with the fire under his belt, playing smart, looking like the MVP quarterback that we saw years ago, then great. Then that was a great move. But if he is mentally damaged by that, if he continues to be more discouraged, then there is a bigger issue that we have moving on forward. Yeah. So that's all.
McNabb got McMahon.
Yeah. Well, again, going back to the Bengals, we're the exact opposite. It's like the one area we don't have a problem.
Well, for now. I mean, one more hit. What are you going to have Ryan Finley starting your games? Imagine this team with Ryan Finley. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. It's like the Bengals coaching staff seems to imagine that Joe Burrow is not made out of the same flesh and blood and bones as normal human beings. How many hits can one human being take, even if he's 25?
Yeah, you can't have him get take that many hits. You can't. I don't know. Maybe you guys, in my opinion, I think you guys should perhaps formulate some type of power formation and just try to get, because Joe Mixon is still a talented running back. It's just, I may put in a 2 tight end set, try to at least force a running game because he's too talented of a quarterback for him to be getting that many hits. And trust me, we're dealing with it right now. We're giving you the heads up because we had a quarterback who was playing out of the world, and once he took hits, once he got hurt, has been a shell of himself since then. So the main thing, and that is moving on forward. Please protect Burrow. Please protect Burrow.
Yeah. AJ, what do you say? What do you say we should do about Burrow? You got any advice for us, AJ? As a Philly fan, we should do something about Burrow?
I think you need to protect him. I would definitely agree. He needs to be protected. That was a major case of whiplash on that hit, right? Yeah. On the hit for Malik Jackson. I mean, you can't take too many more of those hits,
right?
And perform. It's not going to happen.
No, I know. I agree. Yeah, so many hits. Yeah, and this is all preventable. You got to get the offensive line working, and people have done it. There are other teams that have done it. They've made it a priority. But
well, I mean,
to the word. Zach Taylor has said that we're fine with the personnel we have. We're fine with the O-line coach we have. We're fine. I do not agree with Coach Zach.
His rhetoric has changed this week because he said we're going to, he doesn't know he said, I don't know what I'm doing. He realized that there's a position called right guard, and he says, we need someone to fill that. So he's learning. He's a young coach. He was a QB coach before. He's learning.
I know what it's like to be a QB coach. You spend most of your time either massaging the QB or massaging his ego. You don't even show up to most of the games. I hardly ever showed up to the games. Yeah. As a QB coach, you don't do much.
Right. But so he's learning. He's going to try. But we're going to have Marissa Contepelli on the show later this week to tell us about their plans of how to fix the offensive line, how to fix the defense, all that kind of stuff. Hopefully you get some insider information. That would be in a couple of days. But yeah, I mean, like you were speaking of hits with Joe Burrow, and similarly, this show has taken a lot of hits. It's got a lot of hits. We get a lot of hits, but it's also taken a lot of hits in the ratings because the Bengals are performing so poorly,
Sure.
and that obviously affects our pockets and our monetization. So you can support the show to make up for that. You can go to patreon.com/DH Sports. You can support the show. But more importantly, I want everybody to subscribe to our show on iTunes or wherever, the #1 Bengals podcast, and to Darius's show, the Eagles podcast.
Yeah.
These are the top 2 podcasts in the entire podcastery. And also go to subscribe to Darius's YouTube channel, which is called Darius Daulton.
Yeah.
And subscribe to ours. We're over 2,000 subscribers now. Yeah. Please make sure to subscribe.
And in this video, I would like a free discussion. Really, what is the solution to the Bengals' problem of all these sacks and this offensive line? What's your solution? Is it to fire Jim? Is it to bring someone else in, a new player? What do you suggest? Put it in the comments.
Yeah, please.
Let what you read.
Yeah,
that's what I do. Well,
exactly
about and whatnot. I like to read your writing.
Yeah.
Right,
so that is.
I actually got a random question, but I mean, this still has to do with Joe Burrow. But I do feel like, how would your confidence feel? Obviously, with Andy Dalton, I felt like the Bengals had an awesome roster during Andy Dalton's prime, and maybe that's why Andy Dalton perhaps outperformed what we expected from him. What if Joe Burrow had Andy Dalton's roster with that defense and those
multiple Super Bowls?
You would say that?
No, I'm serious because you look at.
Let me just say, I want to let Dadio talk. Sorry, Dadio. I just want to add one thing. Forget the same roster. Just Whitworth. Just Andrew Whitworth. You add the roster, and Burrow is going to take him at least to the playoffs.
Well, this defense, if they protect Burrow, we can put up points. But in the playoffs, with that defense, it could be a mess. But with those Marvin Lewis defenses, those good defenses, Vontaze Burfict in his prime, Geno Atkins in his prime, Carlos Dunlap a little bit younger. We had some good safeties. We had Reggie Nelson, and we had Marvin Lewis and decent defensive coordinators.
Brilliant.
We had Zimmerman, Mike Zimmer. Mike Zimmer. Yeah, we had and the other guy was pretty good too. So
the other guy was pretty good too. And the thing is, people don't know this. I don't know if Philly fans know this. Marvin Lewis is one of the great defensive minds of our time.
Yeah. So I think, and then you look at those teams.
Even when he didn't have the personnel, his last year of coaching, he focused on the defense. He was able to fix a lot of the problems that another coach would not have been able to fix.
Yeah, but we were like right there. We just fell apart in big games.
The problem was, I think this is what the Philadelphia Eagles can learn from. They were too married to Andy Dalton. You fall in love with those redheads. I'm telling you, they were too in love with Andy Dalton to see the writing on the wall.
But
and to see
I've noticed
they could have.
I've noticed that redheads are very captivating. If you look at like the Wendy's logo, or you look at the Under the Sea. What is it? Little Mermaid. You look at people are drawn to redheads, and they don't always think with their minds when it comes to redheads. Yeah.
No, and I'm telling you, the year that we got John Ross because we were so sure about our quarterback position, we could have got Patrick Mahomes, and that's just one example.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah.
Well, I was gonna say, moving on forward, I was gonna ask you guys this question. So you get. You obviously have Pittsburgh, who is near the end with Big Ben. Maybe it's the end of this year or next year. You have the Browns, which looks like you could just tell what Baker Mayfield already is, and you could honestly already say at this point in time that Joe Burrow has a higher ceiling than Baker Mayfield. And then when the Ravens with Lamar Jackson, I'm trying to keep updates with their score right now. Looks like they just cut the lead down to 7, but you could tell that there is a certain wall that they hit despite playing at such a top elite level, but it looks like there's a certain wall that they hit when it comes to tough opponents there, with Joe Burrow now adding that aspect of a potential elite quarterback. And you're talking about on the cusp of the Wilsons, of the Mahomes, of the Rodgers, if you continue to see this development. Now with the proper team, where do you see now with the team, perhaps, rebuilding, retooling this offseason? Next several seasons, how quickly, how fast, or when do you expect the Bengals to start competing in the AFC North?
Dadio, you go ahead, and then I'm gonna follow you, Dadio. I have one quick comment.
You look at who dominates divisions. It's elite
Yeah.
quarterbacks. I love your point, which is, look, it was Peyton Manning dominating the AFC South for a long time. It was Tom Brady. It
Right.
was even Andrew Luck when he was on the Colts. They weren't that, they had offensive line problems. So yeah, I agree that is how you have dominance in the division. So the Bengals have the upper hand if they have enough creativity in their play
Yes.
calling, which we did not see.
That's it. That's what I was
And-
going to say. That
and
was my
if-
point. That was
If
my
we
point.
have sufficient, not excellent, but sufficient blocking
Sufficient.
and some creativity and a
It's
defense
gonna be efficient
that can keep us in games.
in it.
That's
to
all we
win
need.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. I was basically going to say the same thing in response to Darius. The difference between the Bengals and the Philadelphia Eagles is one of them is the playbook. Zach Taylor has so far not shown us a very creative, even offensive playbook compared to what you have with Peterson. I mean, if you look at the passes we have, most of the creativity, like the cool stuff we've seen, has come from Burrow improvising, which that's not going to get you very far.
No.
I mean, yeah, he can improvise, but the great teams have great playbooks and they have great plays. And Burrow can handle that, but he can't. He's not a coach. He's a player. And so far, Zach has not shown that creativity. He has not shown that complexity in his playbooks. That's not my complaint. You know what? I think with the playbook we have, you keep the kid from getting hit, smacked, hurt, we're fine.
Yeah.
All right, I'll give you guys an advice because obviously, at one point we were both, we were both teams looking for that, that ring right there. We're looking for that ring to finally win. I'll tell you this: you already know what you can get from Joe Burrow. So look at the formula that's been happening around the NFL. Look at that formula. You got rookie quarterbacks under rookie contracts, and teams are capitalizing off of them before they pay them. So I suggest, what you got from Joe Burrow. Cincinnati must demand this right now. We did it in Philly with Carson Wentz under his rookie contract. Stack that roster. Rams did it with Jared Goff. They made it to the Super Bowl. I know they didn't win it, but they still took advantage of that rookie contract. The Chiefs did it before they paid Patrick Mahomes. Stack that roster as well. Bills are doing it with Josh Allen. The Ravens are doing it with Lamar Jackson. Obviously, we did it with Carson Wentz. As a matter of fact, the last 3 Super Bowl opponents, there's been three guys or 3 teams these last 3 years that's made it to the Super Bowl with a quarterback under their rookie contract. Obviously, the Eagles did it, but with Carson Wentz was obviously not playing. Nonetheless, though, that allowed us to give us a roster to be a Super Bowl ready roster. The Rams the following year made it to the Super Bowl with Goff under that rookie contract, and the Chiefs just did it last year with Mahomes under that rookie contract. So take advantage of Joe Burrow under that rookie contract. You know what you're going to get from him now. You see elite potential from Joe Burrow. Next year, perhaps the following year, they got Bengals front office is going to be a huge next 2 off seasons for them to build a potential Super Bowl roster and take advantage of that rookie contract that Joe Burrow will be under for the next 3 years or so.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is all we have. Thank you so much to Darius Daulton. Make sure you subscribe to his YouTube channel and to his podcast and leave a 5-star review, guys. Don't be cheap. And for us too, 5-star review, subscribe, all of that kind of good stuff. For Darius Daulton, AJ Clarkson, Dr. Hodgie, Director Kismoji, I'm Dadio Maktouk. That is all we have. We will see you next time. So long, Sweetie.